we gonna need some communism. In our video today, we'll be explaining what communism is. Hopefully, we will make this super duper easy for all you guys to understand. So don't worry about anything, because by the end of this video, we should have shared enough knowledge to create our own thoughts about communism. And I am absolutely certain that we will all have enough information to start researching more about it too. Now, without further delay, let us all get to the point. But before we start, we gonna need some communism. Alright, so what in the world is communism? You know, I can't just dive in the middle of communism and spread out from there when we don't even know what it means, right? We gotta start with the definition, so everything else clicks in our mind. So in simple terms, communism is an economic system where the group owns the factors of production. Usually the government would represent these groups. So when I say that the government owns the factors of production, I mean that they own the labor, they own the capital goods, they own the natural resources, and even control the entrepreneurship too. Technically, the government does not own the labor force, but the government or central planners of the government would tell the people where to work. Work would usually follow the concept of from each according to his ability. So it would be like Bruce Lee should be a martial artist, Johnny Depp should be an actor, Jordan Belfort should be a salesman, Nietzsche should be a edgy philosopher, and Charles Manson could make a good priest. Also, in a communist system, individuals do not own land, factories or machinery. The government or the whole community owns these things. Everybody has to share the wealth that they create. So let's say if I generate a nice $69, then I have to distribute that with everybody. This theory of communism was developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. This fine chap here who has a mighty white beard is Karl Marx, and the other is his friend who has a brown beard, and that's almost a good Chinese copy of Karl Marx. They both wrote the Communist Manifesto, which is none of your business, and that was a joke which everybody will get later. Karl Marx said that communism was from each according to his ability to each according to his need. So according to Marx, capitalistic owners would no longer take all the profits. Instead, the profits will be distributed among the workers. What Marx claimed that people would work at what they loved and did well, or what they were passionate about. He claims that the workers would be happy in such a state, and that they would use their skills to contribute to society to benefit it. He claims that the economy would prosper with such a concept, and that people would work harder than they do in capitalism. Alright, so what if someone could not work? Then the community would take care of those who could not work. It would provide everyone with the goods and services, and those who could work would work for the enlightenment of self-interest. A communist society is classless, stateless, so inequality is usually seen as something that doesn't exist as much in other societies. We'll get to a communist society soon, because I think we got a lot of stuff to explain here. The most important thing about communism is these 10 principles. In the Communist Manifesto written by Marx and Engels, they outlined these 10 main points. The first one was get rid of property in land and application of all rents of land to public purposes. Second, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. The third, no rights at all of any kinds of inheritance. So we don't have any trust fund babies and rich kids driving their daddy's Lambo. Aww. Fourth one, take away the property of all immigrants and rebels. Fifth one, equal liability of all to labor and establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. Sixth one, the elimination of the difference between town and country. Seventh one, free education for all children in public schools and no child labor in factories. Eighth one, centralization of credit in the hands of the state. Ninth one, communication and transportation would be controlled by the state. And the last one, the 10th one, the state factories and instruments of production would cultivate wastelands and improve the soil. These are the 10 points written in the manifesto, the building blocks of the system. So why did such a system seem good to Marx anyways? Well, for starters, Marx expressed that under capitalism, private business owners and corporations own all the factories, equipment, and basically all the means of production, the things that generate wealth. These owners, according to Marx, can then exploit and use workers who are forced to sell their labor for wages. And the workers have this false consciousness that they are being paid enough and that everything is fine and dandy. But according to communism, there will be a day where the working class will rise up against the capitalist owners, the ruling class, and suggest a new society where there is no private property, no economic class or profits. Also, one could argue that communism has a centrally planned economy. It has the ability to quickly assemble economic resources on a huge scale. It can get big projects done, it can create industrial power, it can be seriously beneficial because it goes beyond individual self-interest and conquers the well-being of the general population to achieve these important social goals. Of course, all I'm doing is stating what I have read by the majority of pro-communists. So I wouldn't advise that you go with these claims without actually researching them. Alright, man, what about a communist society? What would that be like? Before I start rambling again, I want to say that please guys, remember these are not my subjective opinions. Usually people start forgetting that somebody is explaining something and then they start arguing with you and acting like you're standing for something that goes against their core values. I'm just explaining stuff here, man. I'm just doing my job. Alright, a communist society would free individuals from long working hours. How? By automating production to an extent that the average length of the working days is reduced, and also by getting rid of the exploitation that is inherent in the division between workers and owners. Apparently, a communist system would free people from this alienation in the sense of having our lives structured around survival. People would be freer to pursue their creative hobbies and they can contribute to creative social wealth in this manner too. According to communists, there is more equality in a communist system. People are treated equally regardless of their education, their financial position, and their racial or social class. These class systems do not exist in this society, so there will be less crime and violence. Also, everybody can keep a job. The government owns all the means of production, so they are the ones that provide jobs too. The citizens just have to play their part for the economy to receive pay and other work benefits. In a communist society, because everybody is working towards goals set by the government, there's going to be stronger communities. People will unite together, work together to accomplish shared goals. Apparently, some say that there will be no competition, because everyone can work together in peace. Work, responsibility, and rewards are shared equally with each other. In a communist region, people start life off with the same opportunities. So these are some of the things that communists envision in a communist society. Marx describes 3 phases towards achieving this utopia. First, a revolution must take place to overthrow the existing government, an absolute destruction of the existing system. Secondly, the leaders must gain control over the workers. During this phase, the new government exerts absolute control over the common citizen's personal choices, including his or her education, religion, employment, and even marriage. And then collectivization of property and wealth must also take place. Thirdly, we achieve utopia. Everybody happily shares their wealth and their property. They become free from the restrictions that a class-based system requires, and the government controls all the means of productions so that the one-class system remains alive and well. It's just dandelions and rainbows from there. Alrighty, I think we did a pretty well job in explaining what communism is. But I want to know, what do you guys think of it? What do you guys think of communism? Honestly, I'm interested in learning more about your views. I'm always open to listening to what others have to say. So please do let me know what you guys think. Thank you.